Imagine walking into a hardware store because you just need to fix like a single leaky faucet.
Right.
But instead of just grabbing a simple wrench, you walk out with a commercial blowtorch and, I don't know, an industrial table saw.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. You get home, your bank account is totally drained, your bathroom is flooded, and you're just completely paralyzed by the sheer amount of heavy machinery sitting on your floor.
Which is, a pretty accurate metaphor for right now.
It really is.
Hmm.
In 2026, when we look at how students are navigating the world of artificial intelligence, this is exactly what millions of them are doing. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're focusing entirely on you, the learner. We're unpacking this highly practical guide from the Coursive blog. It's titled Best AI Tools for Students in 2026. And, well, our mission today is to pull you out of the hardware store and actually get your bathroom fixed.
Yeah, because it is an incredibly crowded landscape out there right now. I mean, AI is an absolute necessity. Nobody is really arguing that anymore. It saves massive amounts of time. But the biggest trap we see students falling into is this sort of chaotic, scattershot application of the technology. They'll throw like 5 different platforms at a single homework assignment, assuming the AI will just magically untangle their thoughts.
And it doesn't.
No, exactly. It almost always just leads to worse overstimulation.
Right, because we all know ChatGPT and Gemini are the heavyweights. You, listening to this, are probably using one of them right now. But Coursive's guide points out that most students are actually using them completely wrong. You don't just dump a prompt into a text box and pray,
Yeah.
You have to build an intentional, highly personalized study ecosystem.
Right.
So we're going to break down how to actually choose these tools, the real mechanisms of how they work, and what makes sense for your specific workflow.
And before we get anywhere near the specific tools, we really have to define the strategy of how to choose them in the first place.
Okay, yeah. Where do we start?
So Coursive proposes this golden rule here, and it fundamentally changes how you interact with AI. That rule is you have to find your bottleneck.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. What exactly does a bottleneck look like in an academic setting?
Well, think about how you actually spend your time studying. Instead of just, downloading every new app that goes viral on social media, you need to brutally assess your own friction points.
Friction points, right.
Yeah, like what is the one specific task that constantly slows your momentum to a halt? I mean, is it the sheer volume of reading? Is it staring at a blank page when you need to draft an essay?
The dreaded blinking cursor.
Exactly. Or maybe it's figuring out why a string of code just keeps returning a syntax error. You really have to identify that primary friction point before you apply the technology.
I really like this. It goes back to the hardware store thing, or even like buying kitchen gadgets.
Oh, yeah. Great comparison.
You don't need a dedicated avocado slicer, a strawberry huller, and an industrial panini press if you literally only ever bake bread.
Yeah.
You just buy the bread maker.
Right, exactly.
But I do have to push back a little here, just because what if a student comes to this deep dive and says, look, I struggle with absolutely everything. I read incredibly slowly, my writing structure is a total mess, and I can't code to save my life.
Yeah.
Where do they even start if their whole academic life just feels like one giant bottleneck?
That is, that's a very common and very real feeling. But the solution actually remains the same. You have to address the friction sequentially.
Sequentially, okay.
Yeah, AI works best when it's deployed to solve a highly defined specific task. So if the assigned reading is what makes you feel overwhelmed, which then, prevents you from even starting the essay.
Right, because you're already burnt out.
Exactly. Then your true bottleneck is comprehension. So you focus strictly on summarizer tools first. Once the reading is manageable, the writing might just naturally become easier.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And it's also about finding the right tool for your specific level of experience, right?
Absolutely.
The Coursive article brings up this really fascinating distinction when it comes to computer science tools, and I think it beautifully illustrates your point about choosing the right mechanism. If you are a freshman, like a beginner at coding, you actually do not want a tool that just automatically writes the script for you.
Precisely. Because when you're just learning the fundamentals, understanding the logic of the language matters exponentially more than the speed of completing the assignment.
Right. So for those beginners, the article suggests using general tools to act as a patient teacher.
Right. You want the AI to break down the definitions, explain exactly why you're getting a syntax error, and just help you understand the underlying architecture of Python or C++ or
Okay.
whatever.
But then look at a senior or a graduate student. Their bottleneck isn't understanding the fundamental logic anymore. It's raw speed.
Exactly. For that advanced student, the patient teacher actually becomes an annoying roadblock. They don't need lectures.
Right. They just want to build.
Yeah, they need a tool like GitHub Copilot. Copilot integrates seamlessly into their coding environment, anticipating what they're trying to build and optimizing the workflow so they can move at the speed of their own thoughts.
Which brings up another massive variable here. Different majors need entirely different mechanisms from their AI.
Oh, completely.
Like if you're studying the humanities, an essay outliner or a citation manager is basically your lifeline.
Yep.
But if you're a STEM student, an essay outliner is totally useless to you. You need step-by-step mathematical problem solving or like data set analysis.
Mm-hmm. And business or marketing students. They need rapid data summaries and tools that can instantly generate market analysis presentations.
Right.
What's fascinating here is how all of those specific needs tie into what we might call the ecosystem rule. This is just a vital piece of strategy.
Ecosystem role, okay.
Yeah, it absolutely does not matter how powerful an AI tool is. If it doesn't fit into your daily digital habits, you simply won't use it.
Yes, this is a crucial warning from the source material. Friction is the enemy of productivity.
Totally.
If setting up the AI takes longer than just doing the homework task yourself, it's totally useless to you. Think about context switching.
Hmm.
If your entire academic life, your emails, your documents, your collaborative group projects, if all of that lives inside Google Workspace, but your AI tool forces you to open a completely different browser window,
Oh, it's the worst.
and you're manually copy-pasting text back and forth, you are creating unnecessary friction.
Yeah, and the most successful AI tools for students in 2026 are what we might call invisible tools.
Invisible tool.
Yeah, they live right inside your browser extension or directly inside your existing word processor. They don't force you to change your habits. They just make the habits you already have significantly faster.
Okay, so we've established the ground rules. Find your bottleneck, cater to your specific major, and stick to your existing digital ecosystem.
Right.
Now let's talk about the foundational tools themselves, the heavyweight generalists. Most students are going to start here, but man, the tiers and pricing can get incredibly confusing.
Oh, for sure. The two major players in 2026, unsurprisingly, remain Google, Gemini, and ChatGPT. Let's look at how their mechanisms actually differ.
Okay, let's start with Google Gemini, especially since we just emphasized ecosystems.
Yeah.
Gemini's biggest superpower is its deep, native integration into Google Workspace.
Mm-hmm.
The 2026 structure is really interesting. The free plan runs on Gemini 3 Flash. It gives you basic conversational chat, image generation, and a very limited taste of their deep research feature.
Right, which gives you about, what, 5 comprehensive reports a month?
Yeah, exactly 5.
Which, frankly, is perfectly adequate for a lot of high schoolers or, early college students who just need occasional brainstorming.
Right.
But for U.S. students, the Google AI Pro plan sits at $9.99 a month. That bumps the mechanism up to Gemini 2.5 Pro, unlocks unlimited deep research, provides 2 terabytes of cloud storage, and essentially embeds the AI directly into your Google Docs and Gmail.
Fulfilling that invisible tool requirement.
Exactly.
I was looking at the source and my jaw dropped a bit. There is a Google AI Ultra tier.
Yes, the Ultra tier.
It costs $124.99 for 3 months. It uses Gemini 3.1 Pro. It has a 1 million token context window, and it includes VO 3.1 for generating cinematic videos. I just have to ask, is a college student really going to need an AI with a 1 million token context window?
Well, okay, that requires us to actually understand what a context window is first.
Okay, lay it on me.
Think of a context window like the AI's short-term working memory or like the size of its physical desk.
Okay, desk size.
Yeah, if an AI has a small context window, a small desk, by the time it finishes reading chapter 5 of your textbook, it has completely forgotten the specifics of chapter 1. It literally just cannot hold that much information in its active memory.
Okay, so a 1 million token window means its desk is suddenly just massive.
Exactly. It's huge. So For a freshman taking general education requirements, it is absolute overkill.
Right, they don't need a desk that big.
No. But consider a graduate student working on a PhD dissertation who has to do these massive literature reviews. Being able to drop 50 dense, peer-reviewed PDFs onto that massive digital desk all at once and say, synthesize the differing methodologies used in these 50 papers is a profound mechanism.
Wait, all at once?
All at once. It turns weeks of preliminary reading into hours of focused analysis. It doesn't forget page 2 of the first PDF while reading page 20 of the 50th PDF.
Okay, that makes complete sense. It's the industrial table saw, but for the person actually building a house.
Exactly.
Let's pivot and contrast that with ChatGPT, which Coursera calls the strongest all-rounder. The free tier runs on GPT 5.2, though with strict limits on that working memory we just talked about.
Right.
Then you have the Go tier for $8 a month, giving you slightly more access.
And then the Plus tier at $20 a month, which is where the ecosystem really opens up. You get the ability to build custom GPTs, you get robust, deep research capabilities, Sora for high-end video generation, and the Codex agent for programming.
And I really want to pause on Codex for a second, because earlier we talked about coding bottlenecks. Instead of just saying it includes Codex, let's talk about what that mechanism actually is. If you're a computer science student, Codex doesn't just autocomplete your code like predictive text on your phone.
No, not at all.
It reads your logic. It understands the actual intent behind your function. It can spot the missing bracket or the logical loop that you've been blind to for 3 hours and actually explain why it's broken.
Yeah, that is the literal difference between a tool and a tutor.
But I have to call a major timeout here. The source lists a pro tier for ChatGPT that costs $200 a month.
Yeah.
$200. It gives you unlimited GPT 5.2, priority speed codex, and maximum deep research. But that is entirely predatory for a college student's budget.
Oh, completely.
What could possibly justify a student spending textbook-level money every single month on a chatbot?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the simple answer is they shouldn't.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the Coursera guide makes it very clear that the pro tier is for enterprise-level professionals or researchers processing massive, complex data sets daily.
Not a sophomore in undergrad.
Right. For the learner listening right now, the source material draws a very clear philosophical line. The free tiers are perfectly fine for structuring and brainstorming, but the moment you want the AI to do heavy lifting like advanced coding or deep ecosystem integration, you're looking at that $10 to $20 a month sweet spot across the board. The $200 tier is just a distraction for a student.
Good. Because here's where it gets really interesting. So ChatGPT and Gemini are great for brainstorming and generating ideas. But we both know their fatal flaw.
The hallucination problem.
Yes, they're ultimate people pleasers. If they don't know an answer, they will confidently invent a very plausible-sounding lie just to make you happy.
Which is terrifying.
That hallucination is a disaster if you're writing a heavily cited history paper. So how do we solve the accuracy bottleneck?
That is the perfect transition. When accuracy is your actual bottleneck, you have to move away from the generalists and rely on research specialists. And the absolute standout here is Notebook LM.
Yes. Notebook LM is so fascinating because it solves the hallucination problem through its core mechanism.
Yeah.
It only works based on the specific documents, videos, and links that you upload into it.
Exactly. General AI models pull from the entire internet, which is why they get confused or just invent facts. Notebook LM uses a closed-loop system.
Closed loop, right?
Yeah, it essentially puts blinders on the AI. It becomes a hyper-focused research assistant that is strictly confined to your syllabus, your uploaded textbook chapters, and your specific lecture slides.
The utility of this for exam prep is just incredible. Because it's locked to your materials, you can have it generate a study guide or an audio overview based only on what your professor actually taught.
Not on some random Wikipedia article from 10 years ago.
Exactly. And the free plan is super generous. You get 100 notebooks with 50 sources each and 3 audio overviews a day. The Plus tier is $999 a month, and that bumps you to 500 notebooks.
But, Notebook LM requires building out a bit of a system. You have to organize your files, upload them, and build the notebook. What if a student just needs to quickly understand one single highly technical PDF right before a seminar?
That's where ChatPDF comes in as the alternative. If Notebook LM is a massive filing cabinet, ChatPDF is just a quick conversation.
Right.
It has a very simple, user-friendly interface. You just drop the PDF in and start chatting with it, like, explain page 4 to me like I'm 5. But it has very strict limits. The free plan only gives you 50 questions a day and limits the file size to 10 megabytes.
Yeah, so choosing between Notebook LM and Chat PDF depends entirely on the scale of your specific bottleneck.
Okay, scale.
If you need a comprehensive, semester-long system for a massive thesis project, Notebook LM is your tool. If you just need a quick summary of a confusing sociology chapter before class tomorrow, Chat PDF gets the job done instantly.
Got it.
The Chat PDF Plus plan is $16.99 a month for unlimited questions, but again, evaluate the scale of your needs before subscribing to anything.
Okay, so you've found your bottleneck, you've done the heavy, accurate research using Notebook LM, and you've generated your core ideas and outlines using ChatGPT or Gemini. You have all these raw materials.
Right.
But an AI-generated draft is rarely a finished product. How do you polish it? And more importantly, how do you manage the actual multi-step project of getting it turned in?
Well, this brings us to the crucial final category of tools writing, polishing, and organizing.
Enter Grammarly and Quillbot. Now, Grammarly follows you everywhere. It's the ultimate browser integration. The free plan is great for basic spelling, but the $12 a month Pro plan is where it flexes its specific mechanisms for students. It does instant formatting in APA, MLA, and Chicago styles, which saves hours of tedious work.
Hours.
And crucially, it detects plagiarism and AI-generated text, which is vital for academic integrity in 2026.
Absolutely. And then there's Quillbot, which serves a completely different functional purpose. It's less about grammatical rules and more about flow and tone.
Flow and tone, okay.
Yeah, if your draft sounds too casual, or conversely, if you need to simplify overly dense academic language, Quillbot paraphrases and adjusts the tone. The premium plan is very accessible at $4.710 a month.
But I do want to point out a major flaw the Coursive blog highlights here. A big con for Quillbot is that its mechanism can sometimes oversimplify complex academic text.
Oh, for sure.
This is a great reminder that these tools are not foolproof. If you run a highly nuanced, heavily debated philosophy paper through a paraphraser, it might strip out the actual academic rigor of the argument just to make the sentence shorter. You cannot outsource your judgment.
No, you still have to be the editor, which requires keeping your brain highly organized. And for project management, the guide highlights Notion AI. This isn't about generating new text. It's about structural command.
I really love how Notion AI works. If ChatPDF is your research assistant gathering data, Notion AI is the project manager looking at the absolute mess on your desk, sorting it into actionable folders, and assigning you deadlines. It works right inside your existing notes. For $10 a month, you take your scattered lecture notes, your brainstorms from ChatGPT, your summaries from ChatPDF, put them into Notion, and the AI helps turn that massive pile of information into a concrete, trackable action plan.
And managing all these different tools brings us to what might be the single most important piece of practical advice in the entire Coursive article.
Ooh, okay.
It's the antidote to that flooded bathroom in the hardware store analogy from earlier.
The 3 to 4 rule.
Yes.
This is a massive aha moment for me. Coursive explicitly states that the absolute optimal number of AI tools for any student is just 3 to 4.
Just 3 to 4.
One for writing and brainstorming, one for deep research, one for editing, and one for organization.
Right. Any more than that, and the cognitive friction of context switching absolutely destroys your productivity.
It really does.
The mental load of jumping between 6 different interfaces, managing multiple subscriptions, and remembering which tool has which document, it means you spend more time managing your AI than you do actually studying the material.
Exactly. Don't buy 20 tools for one leaky faucet.
Yep.
But here is the reality check. Having the ultimate, perfectly streamlined stack of 3 to 4 tools is completely useless if you don't actually know how to command them.
Right. A sports car is useless if you don't know how to drive a manual transmission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the vital skills component.
This is a critical shift in mindset. Getting elite results in 2026 requires moving away from just typing random conversational questions into a prompt box.
Right.
You have to learn the underlying architecture of a good prompt. That is where Coursive's own training courses come into play, and they are essential for maximizing the value of these subscriptions.
And they break it down wonderfully by tool and need. Like they have a ChatGPT and ChatGPT 2.0 track that takes about 12 hours total, and it teaches you how to build those custom GPTs we talked about earlier. If you live entirely in the Google ecosystem, they have a 3-hour Gemini course focused entirely on extracting insights without leaving your workspace documents. And for the student juggling everything, they have a 3-hour Turbocharge Your Productivity course that teaches you how to manage multiple tools simultaneously without losing your mind.
But I do want to highlight this 7-hour course they offer on Claude. Now, Claude wasn't heavily featured in our earlier generalist breakdown, but the source specifically praises it for its clear reasoning and strong analytical depth.
Oh, interesting.
And the fact that it takes 7 hours to master tells us something incredibly important about how AI is evolving.
Right. Claude isn't just a different interface with a different color scheme. It
No.
requires a totally different prompting logic.
Precisely. Because it is built for analytical depth, you cannot just talk to it like a standard search engine.
So what do you do?
You have to set up multi-step reasoning frameworks. You have to tell the AI how to think before you tell it what to write.
Wow, how to think before what to write.
Exactly. That's what these courses are actually teaching. The real value isn't learning what buttons to click because, let's face it, interfaces change every 6 months.
True.
The value is learning the logic of how AI processes language and turning that theoretical knowledge into tangible, measurable time saved during your week.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the learner? Let's synthesize this mission. First, stop throwing random tools at your homework. Find your specific bottleneck, whether it's reading comprehension, coding logic, or essay structure. Second, choose tools that live invisibly inside your existing digital ecosystem to eliminate friction. Third, be ruthless and limit yourself to the 3 to 4 rule so you aren't overwhelmed by context switching.
Right.
And finally, invest your time in actually learning the logic of prompting, rather than just throwing money at $200 a month subscriptions you don't fully understand.
And we absolutely must reiterate the ultimate truth from the course of guide here. AI cannot replace studying.
Say it louder for the people on the back.
Seriously.
Hmm.
It is phenomenal at speeding up the drafting phase, the summarizing phase, and the planning phase. It clears the brush. But true learning, the kind that builds actual expertise and rewires your brain, still requires human understanding, practice, and retention.
Yeah.
AI is a support system. It is not, and cannot be, a substitute for your own critical thinking.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over as you build your ultimate 2026 AI toolkit. If artificial intelligence is now seamlessly taking over the drafting, the summarizing, the data analysis, and the grammatical polishing of your work, what happens to your authentic voice as a student?
Yeah, that's the big question.
If everyone in your graduating class is using the exact same highly optimized AI workflows to write their essays and analyze their data, how will future employers, or even you yourself, distinguish your unique intellect from the algorithm's standardized output? It's definitely something to think about the next time you walk into that digital hardware store. You can buy the most powerful table saw on earth, but you still have to decide what kind of house you are uniquely going to build.